Exchange with A.J. Clemens. A.J., your book deals with so many issues. One of those that I mentioned in the beginning as having a special curiosity value to me is your Lewinsky lawsuit. Tell me, did you feel Monica was putting too much into her position as an intern?
Well, I don't really go into the Lewinsky suit in my book, but it's on the cover just to let people know that I was in the news before. The basis of the suit was that she was a federal employee. Now, I'm sure there's been presidents that have had ladies of the night come to the White House, but it's a little different when the taxpayers pay somebody to do a job, and they have a different idea of their job description than what the taxpayers are paying for. And that was the basis of my suit. It was a taxpayer's lawsuit against her on the basis that she did not do the job that taxpayers paid her to do.
Now, would it be a reasonable response by her defense counsel to suggest that, after all, she had free time of her own that she could devote to whatever activities, and that her relationship with the president was a matter of consenting adults indulging in certain pastimes? Would that be a response that would have defeated your lawsuit?
Well, actually, the way my lawsuit came out is like this. I filed the suit, and I was on the day that I filed it, I didn't have enough money to pay the filing fee, so I filed a pauper motion, and then came back a few days later and paid the filing fee. Then I tried to organize an organization that I was hoping to get started called Citizens for Integrity in Government Service. But I wasn't able to get any public support, and I felt that I needed at least 5 people to act as plaintiffs in order to proceed forward with the suit. And if I proceeded forward by myself, that I wouldn't have standing to represent all the taxpayers of the United States. So I filed a motion to dismiss the case without prejudice, and I had hoped to refile it again once I got the organization together, but I wasn't able to do that. So as far as the defense counsel goes, it really never got into litigation with the defense counsel.
It was never actually formally accepted for filing because you did not have the 4 other persons joining you?
Well, the judge, it was allowed to be filed, but I voluntarily dismissed it without prejudice because I felt that the judge would probably throw it out because I didn't have enough people to be plaintiffs in the suit. I was just guessing. The judge might have gone ahead and taken the case. I don't know.
Well, you were unable to locate 5 friends or associates who are willing to stand with you on this lawsuit?
Right. That's it. And if you look at the case of Flass versus Cohan, which is a taxpayers lawsuit, they had at least 5 people for that suit. So going by that precedent, I decided I had to have at least 5. I was hoping to get maybe 500 or 1,000, but I couldn't get even.
Well, what kind of response did you get from people you approached? I assume you must have approached a couple of dozen, probably offhand.
Right, yeah, quite a few, but people were scared. They were afraid that they were going to end up getting stuck paying attorney's fees and such like that. And a lot of people just didn't care one way or the other. And I just couldn't get the organization started that I wanted to start in order to do the suit. But when I filed it, on the day I filed it, the next day I was in the national news. Well, and it just showed me that there was some substance to the suit. Otherwise, they would have never carried the story.
Who covered it?
Well, Scripps Howard and News Sentinel, and there were a couple other papers around the country that carried it, but it went over the Scripps. Is that the right word? Scripps Howard?
Yeah. Scripps Howard. Yeah.
Yeah, it went out over their wire service.
Their news service, but it didn't make one of the networks, right?
No, it never made the major TV networks. No.
Do you know if even any right-wing talk show hosts, for example, picked up any right-wing programmers?
Not that I know of.
Or you would have thought they might have found that rather intriguing.
Well, anyway, the logic of the suit, I feel it could be used to file a similar type of a suit as far as 9/11 goes.
Explain that, yeah.
Okay. The logic is that you have if you were to start an organization such as, let's say, you call it Taxpayers for 9/11 Justice, and you have at least 5 taxpayers, or maybe 500 or 1,000 if you can find them. And what they do is they file a suit, and they claim that 9/11 was part of a racketeering scheme, and the taxpayers of the United States were the actual victims of the racketeering scheme. And then you name the defendants that you feel are the ones that are responsible for it. And if you win the suit, all the money that you win goes to the United States Treasury as compensation for all the money that was spent by the taxpayers as a result of 9/11. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Was that presuming that they were involved in the preparation for 9/11, that this was complicity of the U.S. government, or that they failed to perform their duties in preventing it?
Well, you don't sue the U.S. government. The U.S. government is going to be the beneficiary of the suit, not the defendant. What you got to do is, like for instance, right now there's a suit in the U.S. District Court of Southern New York. It was filed in 2002, and it's filed against the Saudi Arabian government. And it's basically a wrongful death suit filed by some of the relatives of victims of 9/11. And they claim that Saudi Arabia aided and assisted the terrorists, and therefore they're responsible for wrongful death of their relatives.
And that's because 15 of the alleged 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabians?
Right, and then they also have some evidence that, the press reports say that there's some evidence that either the Saudi government or Saudi private parties supported them before the attack in buying them plane tickets, getting them, paying for their going to flight schools in the United States, and on and on. And the money came from Saudi Arabian sources. Just very recently, there was former Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska and Bob Graham of Florida, who was the governor of Florida and senator from Florida, have both filed affidavits in this case, so the case is still pending. And what I would suggest is that if there was an organization like Taxpayers for 9/11 Justice, what you could do is file a motion in this case and have the taxpayers of the United States representing the United States become one of the plaintiffs in the suit. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm rather intrigued by your reasoning here.
Right, and so the idea is that, and also, I think you've seen that movie, Fahrenheit 9/11, and there's quite a bit of stuff in there about the relationship of the Bushes and the Saudi Arabians, and pictures of them walking arm in arm with each other, counting all their money, and et cetera. I think evidence in that movie that could be used in this suit also. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Saudi Arabian government has got enough money that if they were to be found liable in this case, that it might actually pay off the national debt. Because a RICO suit is triple damages.
The latest I'm hearing about Saudi Arabia is that they're releasing prisoners